Hi everyone, my name is Alessandra and I'm the UKMidSS research midwife, and in this webinar I will just show you how to do the data entry for the diabetes in pregnancy study. So once you've submitted your monthly report requests, as we said in the previous webinar, you will receive an email containing the IDs, the study IDs for your cases and controls. You will also have in the email a link that will redirect you to Open Clinica. Once you land to the Open Clinica page, this looks slightly different from previous versions that we've used for our previous studies. This is an upgraded version of Open Clinica, which is more user-friendly. So in here, you will just add your email address and your password, and then you will click on Login. Once you've signed in, if you are, for example, a research midwife that is using Open Clinica for example, the recovery trial or other studies, you will have several studies in here, and you just need to select the UKMidSS diabetes in pregnancy. Now, we are just going to do this webinar in the test version of Open Clinica, which looks slightly different. But if you essentially go on Go, and then in here, instead of test, you will have production, and you click on here, you will be redirected to the page for the diabetes in pregnancy study. You will notice that you will have your site name. I have access to all the sites because I can potentially do the data entry for all the sites, and I can manage all the sites, but usually every reporter will have only one or a couple of sites. And you can, if, for example, you wish to see only the cases for a specific site, you can just click at the top here, go on Change, and then you will scroll down. I have more than one study here, so I need to go back to the diabetes in pregnancy study, which is selected now. And I will just click, for example, on the Birthing Center University Hospital of Hartlepool to just have a look at the cases that have been submitted, and then scroll at the bottom and click on Change. And I will have now selected just that site, and if I click on Participant Matrix, this is the participant matrix for the Birthing Center University Hospital of Hartlepool, and we can see that there are no results found because there weren't any cases. So if you work for more than one site, you might wish to just have a look at how many cases you had at a single site, and you can do that by just going into Change and doing that. For the purpose of this webinar, I will just go back and look at all the sites because I actually have only one case in the test section. So I will go down, I will reselect diabetes in pregnancy study, and then go to the bottom of the page and click Change. To actually do the data entry and see all the cases you have submitted, you will go into Participant Matrix, and you will have a list of participant IDs, or just one participant ID if you've only submitted one participant ID. Now, there are a few symbols. In this case, it is, in here we can see that under the case, that is an orange sign, which means that the data entry has been started, but has not been completed yet, and the same for the control. You also have the participant ID in here, and then at the top, basically it tells you the study you are working on. To make amendments to this particular participant ID, you will just click on the magnifying lens, and you will be able to see basically the case and the control. Now, in here, we haven't done any data entry, as you can see, and the status in here will be not started and not started. And in order to start the data entry, you will just click on the lens, on the pen. There are 7 sections to complete, and you will have to complete all the sections in order to be able to actually finish the data entry. I will go through some parts of the form with you now. So in here, as you can see, you have the participant ID at the top. Remember that the participant ID is the same for the case and the control. Then you have the study name, and it tells you here at the top that it is a case. So you know that if by accident you clicked on the case rather than the control, you need to change that. At the top, in section 1 at the top, we remind you of the case definition. Any woman with a diagnosis of diabetes in pregnancy, either gestational diabetes or pre-existing, and admitted for labor care in the midwifery unit. You need to complete this section first. And if you cannot confirm that this woman was admitted for labor care to the midwifery unit or birth center, you will get an error message. For example, if I click no in here, then the system will tell you and prompt you and say, this woman is not the case, please contact the UKMidSS office and do not enter any further data. So if this woman was not admitted for labor care in the midwifery unit, you know that this woman is not the case, and therefore you shouldn't carry on with the data entry, and you can just email us and we will delete the record for this case. But we want to carry on with the data entry, and we pretend that the woman was admitted to the midwifery unit birth center for labor care, and the month will be October. Did this woman have any diabetes that was first identified in pregnancy? We click no. We can click no or yes, depending on the woman. And did this woman have pre-existing diabetes? We click yes, and we will click type 1 in this case. And then you just carry on with the sections. What was the woman's age at delivery? We will add 47, and I will show you that something. So if basically you add a value that is outside the range that we expect, you will get an error message. So we usually expect the woman's age, for example, to be between 16 and 45, and this field, because we added 47, it will be red. Now, if this is the right value that you've entered, you can just click on the cloud, and then you would add a query, and basically in the query field it would be woman age is confirmed as 47. As 47. Assign the query to yourself, and then you add the query. If you wish to receive an email about this query, you can tick email, and then you add the query. If you don't add the query, you will not be able then at the end to complete the data entry. And then we carry on here with all the questions, and then to actually enter the children in low-income family measure score, you need to click on this link, and you will be redirected to this page. We just enter the random postcode, and then we just click on the value that we retrieved, and then we just add it here, and you have your CLFM score basically entered. If you don't have data for some sections, like what was the woman's side booking, you click on not recorded. If actually you can't find this data in the notes, but you are reasonably sure that you will be able to retrieve it, then leave the field blank, don't tick not recorded, and then I will show you later what is going to happen. Once you've reached 7 section of the form, you will be asked if you want to enter any other information that you feel it might be important. In this field, please do not add any personal identifiable data like the date of birth, NHS number, or hospital number. This is a free text field, so be really careful on the information you're giving. Do not give any personal identifiable data. If you finished your data entry, you can click on complete, and then you will confirm that you completed the data entry, and an alert message will come up if there are any errors on the form. So if you haven't filled the form appropriately, you will get this alert message, and then you will click OK, and you will be pushed back in to the section of the form that wasn't filled appropriately. In this case, we did not fill what was the woman's BMI at booking because we didn't know this data. But you're pretty much sure that you will be able to retrieve this from the notes. So the thing that you will need to do is to click on the cloud, again, add the query. The query in this case is that you need to look at the woman's record. And then you will assign the query to yourself, and you will essentially get an email every month reminding you that you have a query that is outstanding. And until you haven't answered the query, you will keep getting those email reminders. What we do with our team is that we basically review the queries monthly, and we close those queries where we received an answer. So then you carry on. In order to complete the data, you need to get to section 7 again. Please specify other diabetes medication. We just made a mistake here, so we can just click, for example, on insulin. And then you just keep carry on and filling all the sections that were outstanding. And you get down to section 7. So if you basically forget to fill any of the fields, you will be prompted to do so. And once you go again to section 7, you can click on complete, on confirm. And again, there is an error here. We just tick not recorded for the purpose of the training. And then you have two options. If you think that you need to go back and relook at some sections of the form, you will click on close. And if you click on close, you will see that the status will be orange with a pen, which means that the data entry was started and not completed. Otherwise, if you don't need to go back on the form, you will just go to section 7 and click on complete. Once you confirm and you've done all your data entry, you will see that the status will be green. And then you need to do the same for the control. You see that the status in here is not started yet, and therefore you need to click on the pen and start your data entry. Again, there are 7 sections for this form. This form, it is shorter because we won't ask you questions, for example, on the HbA1c or on the glucose monitoring for the mom. And again, section 1, at the top, you have the participant ID, that again is the same for the case and the control, the study name, and then whether the form is a control or a case. In this case, we are doing data entry for the control, which is the correct one. In section 1, it reminds you at step 1 of the case definition for the case, and then it reminds you of the case definition for the control. For the control, you basically need, from the unit birth register or electronic record, you need to identify the woman who was admitted for labor care in the midwifery unit, birth center immediately before the case, who did not meet the case definition. And also it tells you that you need to know that the woman must have been admitted to the midwifery unit birth center for labor care immediately before the case and must have not had a diagnosis of diabetes. And therefore this woman will be a control. If you click yes, because you can confirm all those fields, then you will be able to carry on with the data entry. Again, if you clicked no, this woman might not be selected as a control. And if she cannot be selected as a control, you will need essentially to go back and look at another woman that is an appropriate control for this case. And then again, you will click on yes, you will carry on with your data entry, and you will essentially fill all the sections, and then you get to section 7 and click on complete if you completed everything. If you cannot complete some of the sections because you don't have the data, then you will click on close, and it will show, the status will show as orange in here. Now, if we go back to participant matrix, you can now see that the data entry for the case was done, and you will have a green tick here, and for the control, the data entry wasn't completed, therefore it is orange. Now, if the data entry was not started at all for the case or the control, there will be a clock in here. The clock is now not showing because I've previously done some data entry for the training. Therefore, at the beginning you had the orange sign, but usually you would have a clock sign in here if the data entry hadn't been done for the case or the control. If you've completed, for example, all the data entry and marked the DCF as completed for the case, you are still able to amend the record. And all you need to do is basically click on the lens, click on the pen here again, under actions, and just go and edit the record. If you're going to edit the record, we will ask you the reason why you've been editing the record. For example, we can go in, is the woman's partner currently in paid employment? We can change the question to yes, and in here, as you can see, please enter a reason for change at the bottom of the page. So you will go at the bottom of the page, enter a reason for your change, updated record, for example, and then enter a reason for changing this record, and it will be, again, because we just needed to update, we have updated the record. If you need to change more than one question, it will ask you at the bottom for every single question that you've amended to enter reason why you changed the value. And you just enter whatever reason it was. And if it is the same reason for all questions, you can just simply click on apply to all, and this value will be applied to all. Once you finish with your changes, you will just click to close, and the record will still show as complete, but the data will be modified with your most recent updates. If you go back to participant matrix, there is another way of changing records, which is by clicking on here, so on the pen or on the tick, and then just click on edit. But this is a longer process that I don't recommend you to do. And you can just click on submit changes, and then you will be redirected to this page. As you can see, this is not very straightforward. It's just much easier to click on participant matrix, click on the lens, and then just go into your record. And in here, in the status as well, you can see that the data entry was completed for the case and was started but not completed for the control. This means that in your monthly emails, you will get a reminder to complete the data entry for the control. And if you have any data queries, you will receive an email about the data queries. I will now show you how to deal with the data queries. So every month you will receive an email reminding you of the outstanding data entry, if you have any outstanding data entry, but also of the data queries that haven't been addressed. In order to do so, you will log in into Open Clinica, and then on the top right corner, next to participant matrix, you will have queries. You just click on queries, and then you will be shown with a list of queries for your site. Anything that under resolution status is shown as red, it means that it is a new query. Anything in orange, it means that it was updated. Anything in black, it means that the query was closed. And then you have the light one that means not applicable. And then for a lighter gray, it means that the query was closed, but it was also the data was modified before the query was closed. And then at the bottom here, you have the query ID. Also, you have the participant ID. And then in detailed notes, it tells you a little bit more on the type of query that was raised. And also the user it is assigned to. Sometimes you might wish to assign the query to one of your colleagues because perhaps you know that you're going on annual leave and they will be able to retrieve the data for you. So if now we go to this data query here, for example, you have two ways of accessing the data query. You either click on the magnifying lens and you will view only the query, or you can click on the magnifying lens on the piece of paper and you will view the query within the record. I will show you how it looks like with the first. So if you click here, as you can see, you will see your data query within the record. So you will have the other questions as well. The data query here, it was because the baby's birth weight was added as 300 grams. and the expected birth weight is between 1.5 to 5.5 kilos. So you need to basically check and confirm. Then you will need to sort of say if the data is correct, you will just write data correct, and then you will update. And then the query will show as orange. Or, for example, you could be like, value is incorrect. You need to check the records. And you can update the query. And as you can see, it will show as orange for any update that you send us. And then monthly, we will review those updates and decide whether we can close the query or not. As you can see now, the query was updated and it is now showing as orange instead of red. If we go, for example, on the same query and you just click on the magnifying lens, what you will see is simply the data query without the record, but you can still respond to the data query from here. Once we review the data queries, I will show you how it will look like once we close the query. So essentially, we decided that the data query is closed. We will usually email the user that has raised the data query. We will close the query and it will show us black. Okay, so anything that is shown as black is because the data query was closed. And then you will close. So you have two ways of addressing the data queries. And then basically when you refresh the page, anything that has been modified will change color. This is everything for the Open Clinica training. Please do get in touch if you need a one-to-one session or if you need any further support, and we will be happy to provide you with any extra support you might need. Thank you.